Hi, and welcome to our lecture on 2.1 stem and leaf graphs. Stem plots, also called stem plots and line graphs. In this chapter, we will study numerical and graphical ways to describe and display our data, mostly with stem and leaf plots. This is part of descriptive statistics. All right, so let's start with stem and leaf graphs. One simple graph is called the stem and leaf graph, or sometimes it's called a stem plot. And it's a good choice to use for smaller data sets, not as good for big data sets. So to create the plot, what we do is we divide the observation of data into a stem and a leaf. The stem is like the tens digit, and the leaf is like the ones. So here is an example of a stem and leaf plot of test scores. So the lowest score, the first one here, this would correspond to a 33. The tens is a 3, and the ones is a 3. Down here would be my 80s, right? So these are multiple scores, 80. Another one is 83. Another one, and then we have 88 multiple times. So this is just a nice way of organizing the data so you can see where the shape of the data. So let's go ahead and see if we can answer some questions from reading our stem and leaf graph. I would like you to pause the video now and try to answer these 4 questions and then unpause and I'll come back and go over them. All right, let's go see what was the highest score on the test. Well, the highest score is down here and it's a 100. And what's the lowest score in the test? Well, that was our 33. How many people took the test? Well, we have to count up every single score. So we have 1 here in the 33, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. 32. I hope I got that. Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. I meant to put here. Sometimes I count these twice because it's easy to miss. What was the most frequent score? So which score was happened the most times? And I think if you see there's a series of 4s down here that correspond to 94 happening 4 times. So the most frequent score was a 94. And finally, what is the frequency of the modal class? So the modal class is the class with the most leaves. So that's the 90s, right? That has the most leaves. And what is the frequency of that one? Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 scores in there. So the frequency of that class is 8. All right, that was reading stem and leaf graphs. Excuse me. When you're doing stem and leaf graphs, here's a couple tips. Number 1, only one digit can end up on the leaf. So if you had the number 23, you would have a stem of 2 and a leaf of 3. But if you had a number like 432, the stem would need to be a 43 and the leaf would only be a 2. You could only have one digit on the leaf. So what would be the stem and the leaf values for 5,432? Well, the stem would be 543 and the leaf would be 2. Likewise, for 9.3, the stem would be 9. This is hard to write on. And the leaf would be 3. All right, so when you write the stems, you want to write them in a vertical line from the smallest value to the largest. And then you want to draw a vertical line to the right of them. And then you write the leaves in increasing order from smallest to largest. So let's go ahead and try this out with making our own stem and leaf plot. So I'd like to do this on your notes. I'm going to put my computer flat so I can do this a little bit better. Why don't you pause the video right now, try doing the stem and leaf plot, and come back and then we'll do it together and go over it. All right. So here was my answer. Hopefully you've already done yours. My stems were the leaves are all 1 digit. The stems are all 1 digit because every data value has 2 digits in it. The stems go from 1 to 12, and the leaves are over here on the right in increasing order. I didn't really have a nice way of drawing a vertical line. If you draw a connected vertical line, that's totally fine. If you're typing it, I just use that vertical bar. So hopefully that's what your stem and leaf plot looks like. So let's answer some questions now that we know how to make it. Do the data seem to have any concentration of values? Well, to me, I see it's right around the 3, 4 is the most values that we have. The other ones are more outliers and lessening. So around 3 to 4 kilometers are the most common distances. The value 12.3 is what we call an outlier. Okay. That one's way away from all the other ones. It's called an outlier just because it's so far away. So most people don't drive 12.3 kilometers to their local supermarket. All right, the last type of graph we're going to talk about today is a line graph. And this is just another type of graph that is used for specific data values in a line. So here's an example. In a survey, 40 mothers were asked how many times per week a teenager must be reminded to do his or her chores. The results are shown in this table. So if you were reminded, if they had to do 0 reminders, that happened twice. 1 reminder happened 5 times. 2 reminders happened 8 times. 3 reminders happened 14 times. 4 happened 7 times, and 5 happened 4. So be careful that you realize that this is a frequency table. You don't see these as much maybe in your previous math classes. So just make sure that you're aware that that's a frequency. All right, so let's practice using these graphs and the table, the frequency table, to answer some questions. Question number 1, how many total reminders were given? Be careful of the zeros. And 2, what is the percentage of time a teen had to be reminded 3 times or more? Again, you need to be careful of the zeros. Why don't you pause the video right now, try to answer these questions, and then come back and we'll go over it together. Okay, let's go over this together. How many total reminders were given? Well, 2 times they didn't have to be reminded at all, so that would count as 0 reminders. 5 times they had to be reminded once, so that's 5 reminders. 8 times twice, that's 16. 14 3 times, which is 42. 7 4 times, that's 28. And 4 5 times, that's 20. And these guys all add up to 111. So 111 total reminders had to be given. What is the percentage of reminders when a teen had to be reminded 3 times or more? So that's going to be these guys down here, 42, 28, and 20. We add those guys together, we get, let's see, 0 carry the 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 90. 90 out of the 111 times, they had to be reminded 3 times or more. Let's use Siri to help us compute. What is 90 divided by 111?
The answer is about 0.8108.
0.81. So that is about 0.81. So 81% of the time they had to be reminded 3 times or more. All right, well, that's it for this section. See you in the next one.